What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on FantasyPros with a 12-team full PPR mock where we'll be selecting from right in the middle, 6th overall. Should be pretty interesting. Our roster: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. But that's pretty much it. So let's get into it and see what happens here while we wait. Quick reminder, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section your thoughts along with any other questions you guys might have. I will do my best to answer them all. And lastly, make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. It has everything you can want at a great value. Top 150 overall player rankings in standard and PPR formats, individual player bios, tiers, projections, along with general fantasy advice. All those details in the description. But with that being said, let's get into it. And the first 5 picks, very normal, I would say, actually. Taylor, McCaffrey, Eckler, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, 0 issues with that. I kind of played around it with it this time around. I wanted to use the ESPN kind of rankings and see what that would look like with this mock draft. But, next time around, we will look at the normal version of this because I think doing it this way is going to eliminate, we've seen it before in the past, some crazy high picks, things like that, because when you go off like consensus off a bunch of different platforms, some individuals are going to have, certain players ranked way, way too high. So, the auto selections can sometimes not realize that and just make one of those picks like let's say a Kyle Pitts in the first round or something like that. But here, I think this is like one of those spots where you have to decide what to do. And that's why I think this like right in the middle is such an interesting pick because, personally, I would go 5 running backs to kick off the draft. And so what do you do afterwards? Do you go with a Najee Harris or do you start the run on wide receivers? I think here I might start the run on wide receivers. I'll go with Cooper Kupp. This is probably in the range right around where he's being drafted. And, let's see what we can do at the running back position afterwards. Looking at our draft board after Cooper Kupp, you see Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Travis Kelce at the 109, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Diggs, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill. So a huge run on the wide receivers. At the end of the first round and start of the second round, then DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette. Was really hoping one of those guys would be able to fall to me. That's not the case. It's all right. Looking at my other running backs, I'd have Saquon Barkley ranked the next highest. Alvin Kamara would be above him, but I don't know what's going to happen with him. So welcome to the team, Saquon Barkley. That's the moral of the story. I already have 1 wide receiver. I'm not going to go with another wide receiver. I don't want to get too crazy here. Let's look at our draft board again to see what took place. So there was Mark Andrews, then Javonte Williams, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, and then the next top 3 running backs off the board: Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, James Conner, AJ Brown, T. Higgins. Wide receivers, the last 2 picks. So Kamara drops all the way to the start of the 3rd round because that possible suspension. Nick Chubb, great value at the 302, even though it's full PPR. So we're in a situation here where we've got our top wide receiver. I don't feel pressured to go with another wide receiver. Michael Pittman would probably be the guy, but looking into running backs, I'm going Ezekiel Elliott here all day, every day. I think that's a great, great value pick. And then I think we get very lucky here because you see one name that I really like at the top of the suggested running backs. That is Travis Etienne. I'm not going to even hesitate. If Zeke wasn't there, I probably would have taken him in the 3rd round. But let's see what made that possible. Michael Pittman, then Kyle Pitts, Montgomery, Cam Akers. I have Etienne ahead of all those guys. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, so 2 quarterbacks. A huge run on wide receivers. Waddle, Moore, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Cortland Sutton, Brendan Cooks. That's all right. I think people are just still sleeping on Travis Etienne. Again, you're going to see, I feel like he's going to be a player with a very wide range of ADPs. And probably it's going to be on the way up, getting closer to September. Let's see here if we can get lucky with another just really good wide receiver. So typically here at wide receiver, I'd be looking at somebody like a Allen Robinson. Tough part is we already have Cooper Kupp. I don't want to have 2 guys from the same team, especially both those guys being wide receivers. Even though I think they can both be top end dudes. Let's look at the cheat sheet, see where they're ranked. Allen Allen Robinson, where are you, Allen Robinson? Unless he's already been drafted, let's continue. Let's look at our wide receivers. That'll be the quickest way to do this. Okay, so Allen Robinson's not even an option. He's already been drafted. That's my mistake. Let's see where he went. So he went. Oh, actually, he went. He went right after our pick of Travis Etienne. So yeah, go figure. I think now would be a good time to potentially take a tight end. George Kittle is still available. I think that's a really, really good value pick here in the 5th round, this being a 12-team league. As far as other wide receivers, it's Darnell Mooney, Jerry Jeudy, Juju Smith-Schuster, all tempting, but I'll get the positional advantage in George Kittle. So let's go with him. Feel good about that pick. And I think Cooper Kupp to a large extent can carry, that position at wide receiver. Ooh, man, we just had a run on quarterbacks. I was really hoping Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson could fall to us in the 6th round. I was literally like a pick and a half away from that happening. Doesn't, but ultimately that's all right. Let's see what's available at wide receiver. If some crazy, crazy value is here. So Jerry Jeudy is still on the board. That's interesting. I think that probably he's our best bet at this point in time. So let's add him. I think he has very, very high upside. With obviously Russell Wilson there, even though I think it's going to be a back and forth. I think you're going to see DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett type of situations pop up. The other guy that I was considering was, just to show you on my board here, Chris Godwin. But, he's a guy that with the injury situation, he could end up being a steal. He could end up being a guy that misses the first 6 weeks of the season if he's on the PUP list. So that's why it's a bit of a gamble. So I went with Jerry Jeudy instead. I really like our running backs. We got a good value on our tight end. I'm going to continue to wait on quarterback. I'm not worried. Most people already have a quarterback. So right now, quickly looking at our cheat sheet, running backs, I'll probably pass on these guys. Wide receivers, we can go with DeAndre Hopkins. We know he's going to be suspended for the first 6 games. But afterwards, he's going to come back. So, you know what? I'll do it this way. If he's available in the next round, I'll go with him. If not, I'm just going to get some more wide receiver depth. I'm going to go with Hunter Renfrow. So let's add him there. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't drop to us. That's all right. It's not the end of the world. I'll go now with another wide receiver that I really, really like. I'll go with Allen Lazard. Potential for huge target share is it's up there without Devontae Adams. So we get Lazard. Now let's see what we can do here. I think we've gotten to the point where it's just going best player overall. Running backs, Melvin Gordon's still there. He is. Tony Pollard. We have Ezekiel Elliott. Might be a smart move to back him up with Tony Pollard, get a handcuff. So let's do that. We'll get Tony Pollard. And I think you could argue just a good value pick there. So I think that was probably, the smartest thing to do. We could have gone with a Rashad Penny. We could have gone with a, Melvin Gordon, but we played it a little bit more conservative. We went with the handcuff in Tony Pollard. That's what you're going to do sometimes when you have truly established handcuffs. Tony Pollard's a guy that, he's been rising in rankings. Here, I'll go with another tight end. I like Cole Kmet. I've mentioned him before. If something happens to George Kittle, he's been known to get injured. We got Cole Kmet kind of in the background waiting. And then now I'm going to go with the quarterback. I will pair up. Oh, actually, we have some really good choices. Do we want to go with a stack of Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy, or do we want to go Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp? I will probably go, I do think Russell Wilson has the higher upside, but I think Matthew Stafford is the safer choice. So with that being the case, you know what? Let's throw caution to the wind. We'll go Russell Wilson for the higher upside. And then let's see what we can do with our final pick and get, one of those high boom or bust players, whatever the case might be. Anything here at running back, nothing that I necessarily love. I mean, I guess we could go Matthew Stafford, but I feel like I've done that enough. I'm not going to do that here. Let's go with the wide receiver that just, I think is a good value. Looking at these names, I think somebody like a Christian Watson. I think Jameson Crowder is an undervalued. I think somebody like a Tyler Boyd, even though he is going to be the number 3 option on that offense. Michael Gallup, depending on what happens with his comeback from injury, also intriguing. So I'm gonna I'll probably go with Michael Gallup, honestly. I think that when he does come back, he's going to be integrated in that offense. So let's go with Michael Gallup and call it a day, see what our draft grade is. I feel pretty good about this team, honestly. I think it's a B plus type of roster. Yeah, okay, so we get a B grade. We've got a good quarterback. We could have added Matthew Stafford on our last pick. Running backs, Barkley, Zeke, ETN. We got a handcuff and Tony Pollard, so I feel good about that. We got Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, Renfro, Lazard as some backups. Michael Gallup as well. We got Kittle. We backed him up with Cole Kmet. I feel good about this draft. I think it's pretty, solid in terms of the draft grade, kind of accurate. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comment section, along with any other questions you guys might have. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe. Make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide, now available for purchase. In the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.